Hello students, I am Sunil Ranjan and I am an English teacher. Well, now I have come up with magic realism and here I begin. Magic realism refers to a strange combination in literature that depicts the mundane, everyday world and blends it with some fantasy. In a magic realist novel, there are descriptions of regular people getting about everyday life, but the same people grow wings and fly, or turn into an animal, or move between the world of the living creatures and the world of the dead. There is contradiction in magic realism. On the one hand, it depicts the life of everyday world and its problems, but on the other hand, it fills this world with the fantastic, the extraordinary, and the supernatural. It's a literary movement that brings together the fantastic and the mundane. By doing so, it shows how life, even at its most trivial, can get magically fantastic. While magical realism has its root in older literary movements like realism, it first appeared and became popular on a global scale in the 1960s when a good number of Latin American writers began challenging the bounds of what is considered reality, often with political as well as artistic aims. Magic realism reminds us that there is a lot in life that is just irrational. Life is full of the fantastic and the unknown. We are so conditioned to our everyday lives that we often miss this aspect. Magic realism embraces this irrational dimension of life as it considers that anything is possible. Now coming to elements of magic realism. The first element is the fantastic. Well, the fantastic is anything that is beyond the rules of reality as we know it. Ghosts, flying people, magic, talking animals and such things don't happen in reality, but they are quite possible in magic realism. Now, point number 2, the mundane. The mundane is the opposite of the fantastic. It's the everyday stuff, sleeping, eating, family, work, and so on. It may not be exciting stuff, but it completely heightens the sense of realism you get when you are reading a story or a novel. The third point is matter-of-fact narrative style. Magic realist writers often use elements without any fancy or flowery language, even when what they say is out of this world. For example, they may describe someone growing wings and flying away as if it were the most normal, everyday thing in the world. Now the fourth point is mix-up. Magic realist writers mix up reality with fantasy, fact with fiction, or the mundane with the extraordinary. Now coming to the fifth point, time. In magic realist literature, time may be circular instead of linear. It could jump around and go back and forth from past to future, or it could just seem to stand permanently still. In magic realist time frame, anything can happen. Now, point number 6, myths. Myths often tend to have supernatural beings like gods, ghosts, demons, and spirits. Magic realist writers often turn to myths and make use of the fantastic elements of myths in their work. Now, seventh point is political review. Now, magic realism is not only about ghosts and fairies only. Often there is good amount of political review too. Magic realist writers often review political oppression through the fantastic or the extraordinary elements of their work. Now, the eighth point is Latin American origin. Magic realism was of Latin American origin. It was the literary production by a group of Latin American writers from the 1960s to the 1980s and became popular all over the world. Now coming to point 7, Surrealism. There were elements of Surrealism too in the works of Magic realism writers. Surrealism was a forward-looking movement in the visual arts and literature that developed in the 1920s in Europe. As Magic realism tossed all sorts of unconnected things together, it had the traces of Surrealism. And the last point is novel and short story. The novel and the short story are the two genres of English literature that are very closely associated with Magic realism. Realism had grown out of the narrative prose style of the novel and short story. Magic realist writers wrote novels and short story, and they used these genres, but they added a magical twist to them by putting in the rational and the irrational, the real and the unreal in them. So I come to the end of the topic, and thank you for listening. If you have subscribed to my channel, it's fine. If you haven't subscribed to my channel, do subscribe so that in the time to come, I come up with the topics that will really be beneficial for you. Thank you.